Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Coin News Extra Interview Session. It's a program where we invite blockchain, cryptocurrency, and fintech experts who come talk about matters arising, their experiences, and the impact they are making in the ecosystem. So today, I have a great innovator joining us for a wonderful conversation. I have Devajani Mohanty. Devajani Mohanty she's an expert and also with my ed.id. You are welcome, Debahaji. Hello, you are
Hello.
welcome, Debjani.
Yeah, Johnny. Yeah.
Okay, it's our pleasure to have you. So, how is it over there in India? How is it there?
Yeah, all going good. And the COVID situation is improving. And I believe that there is a lot more opportunities coming up in 2021, hoping so. So, industry is looking forward to emerging technologies. And I see a lot of hope in the coming year.
Okay, it's our pleasure. We are happy to have you connected to us from India. So, let's move straight. We want to know brief about you, just a brief about you and how you ventured into the blockchain ecosystem and how has it been your experience down the lane?
Sure, sure. So I'm the blockchain author of 5 books that you can find on Amazon, and most of my books are bestsellers in their area. So I was already working in the IT industry for close to 17, 18 years, and then during one client trip to US, I came to know about blockchain. That was back in 2017. So I came to know that Bitcoin is programmable and I tried to find out more information from the net, and I didn't find much. So at that time, there was not many books available, not much information available. So I started gathering information myself and to prepare a documentation for myself. And ultimately, that documentation became better than anything that was available in the net. And I first published my first book as a self-published one, but immediately it just became a bestseller. And then I wrote my second and third and fourth, and then currently I just wrote my fifth book, which is on blockchain backed decentralized identity or self-sovereign identity, which again is doing pretty good. And the best thing about my work is that I mean pioneer in their own field in the area. So that is why I mean my work has helped the ecosystem, the blockchain ecosystem to go forward. So that I always wanted to work in such area, and so for past couple of years after my first book became a bestseller, for past 2 years I have been working mostly as independent consultant. I was getting work from many different organizations in Asia and Europe. But recently I have joined earth.id, and where we are working on many pioneer solutions, especially in the decentralized identity area.
Interesting. You've really been contributing to the blockchain ecosystem. Your book being a bestseller. Congratulations on that too. You have been able to write different books in the blockchain and emerging tech sector. That's very excellent. So we are looking at the season we are into now with the COVID-19 that is happening. Also, it has really affected different sectors of different economies and nations. So, looking at the blockchain space, you've been able to write books. Is the blockchain market slowing down, or is there enough opportunities and job opportunities in the blockchain space?
Well, it's very strange. The question is very strange because now, personally, I have never faced this issue of not getting enough work in the market. I would say that if you are doing something, something working in a pioneer technology or doing something that others have not, then you always have opportunity. But yes, when you ask me that whether thousands or millions of people can find work in this COVID situation, maybe there is an issue. But what I would say that in blockchain, the initiation has to come from the top. Like it's the business leaders, the architects who has to understand the ecosystem of blockchain. So only knowledge would not be enough. So you need to understand the requirements, what are the issues that we are trying to fix through blockchain. Cutting down on cost, cutting down on efforts, middlemen. So, and if we know where to apply it, then we can come up with many new use cases, and people are doing it even in this COVID situation. There are so many countries in the world who are working on very pioneer use cases in blockchain, like CBDC. There are many countries in the world who are working on central bank digital currency, supply chains, instant settlements, claim processing, digital identity, and integration of blockchain with IoT and artificial intelligence. So these work are going on even in the peak of the COVID situation, and I believe that people who are working there, they would be always in demand. So I do not see that there would be a lack of opportunity, but yes, it is required that the initiation has to come from the top level, because if the business leaders understand, then only they would pass on that to the lower levels, and that then only would be needing a lot of developers.
Interesting. Seeing how the ecosystem is faring, most especially when other sectors are going down and it is booming. So, recently you've been able to shift our attention or show more concern or focus more on a particular session. You've been able to be making researches and spending more time when it comes to self-sovereign identity. What is the reason behind this, and could you throw more light about what self-sovereign identity is?
Yeah, fine. So blockchain has been in hype for last 4 5 years, right? Before that, it was only the limited to Bitcoin. So in last 4 5 years, people started working in blockchain. There are many different use cases that came up. There are use cases which have reached production. There are use cases which are waiting in UAT for some reason or the other. So certain use cases in blockchain like cryptocurrency, ICO, they're ahead of others. But there are certain use cases which still need a lot of research, and yet they have a lot of opportunity. And SSI, or self sovereign identity, is one of that area where, if you ask me today that what is that use case in blockchain which ultimately everyone on earth would use, then it is self sovereign digital identity, which has got the power to provide identity to each and every person on earth. So that is like some of the biggest projects on blockchain, like ID4D. There is a project called ID4D, initiated by the World Bank, which has got a vision to empower every person on earth with a decentralized identity by 2030. So there are huge projects coming in this area, and this area also needs a lot of research. So that is why, this is my I consider this as my area. I'm working more in this area.
Interesting. We've been able to answer many questions around this. We are about drawing the curtain on today's episode of Coin News Extra interview session. But before that, I want to look at something. Which vertical would be most benefited through SSI? So you could tell us what SSI is for people that doesn't know what it is, and you could go ahead to explain further.
Right. So SSI is a relatively new area on blockchain. And honestly, it can benefit many different verticals. And so any vertical wherever there is a need to share personal data with utmost security and privacy, there we can use self-sovereign identity, or SSI. So currently, I'm working with an organization, a startup called Earth ID, which is an award-winning blockchain startup, and we are trying to come up with many different innovative use cases with the combination of biometrics along with SSI. So primarily, the first use case that comes to my mind is next gen authentication system, where we can use a combination of these two technologies. And also, onboarding, remote onboarding would be possible. Many different use cases which are the need of the COVID time would be really executable after this innovation. many different use cases which were not possible before in be it like fraud free payments, instant settlements, reducing millions of frauds in the payments domain. Then in travel domain, seamless security check-ins, onboarding for airline passengers. In healthcare, like issuance of COVID passports or health certificates. Education sector or employment sector, sharing your certificates, with absolute trust. So these are some of the use cases, but not limited to only this, because there are many new use cases possible. The industry is still studying it, and in near future, you'd come to know more about it. In my next books also, I'm trying to come up with many new possibilities, new use cases, and some of the use cases are very relevant for the underdeveloped world as well, and the developed world as well alike. There are many use cases which you might have never thought of, and that are possible through SSI and biometrics, the combination.
Okay, thank you. Debani, there's this question that I want to ask before we draw the curtain. So we've been there is this challenge in the blockchain space where people have been there have been limited number of females in the blockchain space. We've seen a lot of them being skeptical, and people are afraid. The ladies are afraid to come into the ecosystem. Seeing that you are doing amazingly well as a lady in the blockchain space, what's your advice to ladies who are in the ecosystem and who are at the sideline observing? What's your advice?
Well, I would say that any emerging technology is good for females, because the emerging technology give you the space to work from home, be an entrepreneur, which is not possible with regular technologies. Regular technologies or traditional technologies, you have to compete with a lot more people. But here, number of people, your number of competitors is much less, and the industry gives you an opportunity to work from home. Like in my case, I take care of my family, my children, and I work from home. So this possibility is only there with emerging technology. You have to be the best in your own field. If even if not best, you some of the best in your field, so that work would come to you. You don't have to go to work, so you can handle both your worlds if you are working in emerging technologies. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much, Debani Mohanty, for joining us today on Coin News Extra interview.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.